Hello, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to listen to my presentation. My name is Charles Pierce, and I will be discussing the literary work How Innovation Works and Why It Flourishes in Freedom by British author Matt Ridley. First, I'll start with a little bit about me. I'm originally from Akron, where I attended the University of Akron for my undergraduate degree and received my bachelor's in sales management with a certificate for professional healthcare sales in 2018. After graduating, I went on to accept a position as a medical sales representative selling oxygen concentrators, which are self-generating portable oxygen. When I transitioned out of that job, I accepted a position as a licensed optical manager, working for the sixth largest eyeglass retailer in the US, and we were subsequently 3 months later purchased by the largest vision insurance provider in the US, which was a very strategic acquisition and has allowed our company to grow tremendously. That growth led to the decision of our company to reopen offices that under prior management closed in the Columbus market 5 years prior. And so the company relocated me to Columbus in April, where I have been overseeing the opening of one of those locations. I've been working for this company now for 3 years, and I've really enjoyed what we do, which is giving our community the gift of sight to see the world we live in, which is beautiful. When I'm not committed to my work or studies, I like to go bicycling, kayaking, I enjoy traveling, and music and festivals. I also say that I'm a self-proclaimed foodie, even though it may not look like it. Author Matt Ridley is an esteemed writer in the fields of science, environment, and economics. Mr. Ridley worked for The Economist for 9 years as a science editor as well as a Washington correspondent and American editor before redirecting as a self-employed writer and businessman. Ridley is a retired Viscount from the House of Lords, which is the upper parliament of the United Kingdom where he resides, in Northumberland, England. Ridley obtained a bachelor's degree in zoology, followed by a doctorate in philosophy for his study of the common pheasant. With over 1 million copies of his books sold, which have been translated into 31 different languages, it is no wonder Ridley has earned numerous awards, such as the Hayek Prize in 2011, the Julian Simon Award in 2012, and the Free Enterprise Award in 2014, to name a few. How Innovation Works and Why It Flourishes in Freedom is Matt Ridley's most recent independent publishing, which sets out to help us better understand innovation by providing some loose definitions and thoughts of what innovation means, followed by numerous short stories that dive deeper into what many believe are well-known stories of invention that actually tell stories of innovation. These stories serve to provide context on the necessary conditions, environment, inputs, trials, and tribulations behind some of the innovations we use to this day. Ridley starts by comparing innovation to an infinite improbability drive due to its near infinite possibilities. He continues by saying that innovation is defined as enhanced forms of probability, of constantly discovering ways of reimagining the world in forms that are unlikely to arise by chance and happen to be useful. By this definition, innovation is infinite because even if we run out of new things to do, innovation can always lead to solutions that are quicker or require less energy and input. Thus, innovation is limited only by the supply of energy, and so long as we are continuing to apply energy to the world in meaningful ways, innovation will thrive. Invention turns to innovation when the invention is developed to a state in which it is practical, affordable, reliable, and omnipresent. These characteristics of innovation are what has allowed us to enjoy a period of great enrichment an elevation of the standard of living for much of the human civilization. Ridley argues that for freedom to prosper, it is essential to have freedom. That means it needs the freedom to think, to experiment, to speculate, trade, receive education and read, as well as to invest. It leads innovation to be found in prosperous communities rather than desperate areas, as well as attracted to cities for the opportunities they provide. Throughout the novel, Ridley provides many examples where innovation can be observed on a journey down a path as follows. First, innovation is gradual, incremental steps. It is not a sudden event. Second, innovation is serendipitous. That is, it is accidental discovery. Third, innovation is recombinant. As Ridley explains it, innovation happens when ideas have sex. It is through trial and error. Research and development is necessary to achieve the expected result. And finally, it is inexorable or impossible to prevent. Ridley shows this, citing many examples of inventions that showed up in many places around the globe at the same time when the sharing of ideas was not easy or possible. Another theme presented throughout the novel is the innovation hype cycle, which is a phenomenon Ridley calls the Amora hype cycle after Roy Amara, who Ridley quotes, "We underestimate the impact of innovation in the long run, but overestimate it in the short run." The cycle starts with an innovation trigger, which is the potential technological breakthrough and proof of concept, which incites publicity. That leads to a peak of inflated expectations, where early publicity has some success stories and many failures. That's followed by a trough of disillusionment, where interest wanes as experimenting dredges on. That is followed by a slope of enlightenment, where benefits are uncovered with additional understanding and more investment. Finally, there's a plateau of productivity where mainstream adoption occurs and provider viability is more defined. Applicability and relevance pay off for the investment required. Innovation faces many forms of resistance. One instance of that is extreme activism, which is very counterproductive in furthering the innovation or change. Such an example was in 2015 when the World Health Organization body called the International Agency for Research on Cancer came to the conclusion that glyphosate might cause cancer in high doses. It came to light that some reports were tampered with to further the agenda of the IARC and cast a shadow on their cause. It can also be said that innovation is demonized and as a result delayed. In today's world, one industry where this is prevalent is biotechnology. One example of a glorious innovation that garnered much backlash was coffee, which experienced negativity for 300 years between the 1500s and the 1800s. In other instances, such as AT&T found themselves back in 1947 when the FCC blocked their application to start cellular service, it wouldn't be until 1973 that the first cellular call was placed by the vice president of Motorola, Marty Cooper. The law possesses even more barriers with regards to licensing, patents, intellectual property rights, and any other applicable legalities for the industry. Finally, big business and competition can create insurmountable obstacles by throwing around their wallet. For instance, leveraging connections to pull strings, paying bribe or hush money, purchasing patents of rival products, blatantly copyright infringement, and much more. Ridley concludes his book by stating that not all innovation is speeding up, such as in the case of the average time to travel, which he uses as his example because it has had the same record speed since the 60s, despite the many advancements we've made in technology. Ridley is a conservative, so his view is that there should be less big business and government oversight and intervention, and that's what he calls bureaucratic strangulation. Ridley blames the stagnation and complacency in Western civilization that he feels has taken hold, as big business values corporate profits and shareholder dividends over changing the world for the better. This change in thinking has caused an innovation famine in the West and allowed China to surpass us. The speed and breadth of that innovation, Ridley accredits to a 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week work ethic. Willingness to put in the time, experiment, and play, to try new things, and to take risks. These are all characteristics found in young and prosperous cities. It is my belief that innovation continues to flourish and will always find a way to prevail as it has leading us up to this moment. Through numerous stories Ridley shares of inventions that fit the multiple discovery hypothesis, stating that most scientific discoveries and inventions are made independently and simultaneously by multiple people. This is observed in Galileo and Simon Stevens' discovery that heavy and light balls fall together, as well as John Napier and Joost Berge's discovery of logarithms, Isaac Newton and Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz and others' discovery of calculus, and many more. I believe it is not the inventor or innovator that is significant, but is the innovation that is significant or destined to happen. Ridley makes reference that every generation fears that some form of innovation will siphon jobs from human people. Just last week, I came across the article How to Build AI That Actually Works for Your Business by Christopher Mims in the Wall Street Journal in the tech category. The article goes on to explain that although innovation may make some jobs obsolete or drastically reduced in work size, it will make room for many other jobs and create a need for further education or specialized education. What I actually believe we observe is that, yes, some jobs may disappear only to make way for different opportunities. As our products and services become more specialized, so too will the technical jobs required to maintain such innovations. While Ridley is a firm believer in less government regulation and oversight, my opinion differs. I view this more from a consumer standpoint and appreciate the protections in place for me, considering I do not have the funds to mitigate hardship as firms do and can. Additionally, I don't trust big business, or always the government, and feel patent laws and licensing guidelines are necessary. In my line of work, opticians can pursue a 2-year apprenticeship consisting of 1,000 hours of work per year under a licensed optician or attending a board-approved optical dispensing school, in addition to taking the state board exam to receive licensure. This ensures the proper knowledge and understanding to provide the best care and vision to all patients. With Ohio being a licensed state, and not all states are, it is required to have a licensed optical worker during operating hours. We are able to earn higher wages when compared with non-licensed states. Perhaps I'm biased, however, I do support licensing and regulation for consumer protections because it's possible to have without stifling innovation. Ridley's pervasive idea throughout was that innovation requires the freedom to think, experiment, speculate, trade, read or receive educating, and invest. Furthermore, it is apt to be found in cities and prosperous areas rather than desolate communities. These statements definitely resonate with me. People must be free to communicate, share ideas, resolve conflicts, provide solutions to problems many share, and improve their quality of life. America has received a lot of negative news publicity regarding the second-rate treatment that people of color experience in school funding, healthcare, and housing. The National Academy of Medicine, which is a non-profit, non-government organization, did a study and found African American patients to be receiving lower quality care compared to white counterparts. The nonprofit EdBuild, which studies the ways schools are funded, found that inequalities in funding left schools of color at a $23 billion disadvantage. Such inequalities greatly inhibit the ability of colored communities to actualize their freedom to education, trade, investment, etc., creating a less prosperous community and oftentimes desolate. To conclude things, the overarching theme of the work, that innovation requires freedom in order to thrive, is significant and observable. As Ridley has documented, there is a value chain to deliver an invention to an innovation, and many people have part in that. It is my hope that all of us have the pleasure of being a part of that process. My name is Charles Pierce. Thank you.